Welcome to Well Read, a program about a little bit of this and a little bit of that at your Ames Public Library. Hi, I'm Jerry Hyde, Youth Services Manager at your library, and today we are filming our second of 6 shows about our Youth Services Department at the Ames Public Library. Today we are going to cover a couple of literacy skills, and that is vocabulary and narrative skills, and the term media mentorship. And with me today is Rosie, who is a member of our youth services team. And well, hello there, Rosie. How are you doing?
I'm good, Jerry. Hello, everybody.
Would you like to tell our audience a little bit about you and like how long you've been here at the library?
Sure. It seems like I just joined, but it's been 3 years. I'm Rosie Francis, and I work for Youth Services. I'm one of the library assistants here, so you'd often find me at the desk.
Yes, lots of people see you at the desk because that's the majority of your 20 hours that you work.
Yes, it
is on the desk. Although, you know, I do let you do some other stuff.
You do.
Behind the scenes, like media mentoring.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what exactly is media mentoring? And you know, there's a lot of conversation, a lot of conflict, a lot of disagreement among experts across the field about children and babies and toddlers and the digital media. So media mentorship, tell me a little bit about it.
Okay, I'll give you a book definition of what media mentoring is. It's basically offering our patrons the knowledge or information they want in the media they desire. So that could be books, it could be also e-books, it could be e-resources like e-audios or downloading services that we offer here. So all of that come under media mentoring. And in our library, you'll see that we have different resources. On our catalog, you'll see we offer different ways in which you can access this technology. If you come into the library, we also have different ways you can use technology here at the library. I think you have right here, you have an iPad that you can borrow to use in the library. We have laptops that you can check out to use in the library. And there's also technology that you can take home with you. And that's, of course, our amazing launch pads.
So tell us a little bit about our launch pads.
So these are tablets, and if you open it up, it has a tablet inside. The content inside is captive, so which means it is limited to what comes on the Playaway Launchpad. Kids can go on the internet with it. So it's completely safe for children.
And you mean completely safe means what?
Completely safe means that what is on the Launchpad is all that they will be able to see or experience.
It's not turning on.
Yeah.
But they can experience, you know, the swiping and the changing pages and that type of thing.
Yep.
But they're still staring at a screen. So do you have any suggestions on how we can not just have them stare at the screen?
Yeah, so it all comes down to doing it as a family, right? Just like any other activity, if you want to truly bond with your child, you would want to share this experience. So, for instance, the Launchpad that you're holding has several videos, and if you turn it around, it describes what they all are. And these are things that you can watch together and then have conversations about what you just watched. So, it is all about how far you want to take your technology use. It comes to the same thing when you're playing on an app. So rather than just hand a device to a child and ask that child to be occupied with that app, it's about doing it together and then talking about what you did.
But there's lots of interactive apps on all the iPhones and that type of thing. And if you hand it to a child, they're interacting with the device. Why do we need to talk about it?
So that comes to our next skill, which is narrative skills. Life is about communication, and communication happens in different ways. And one of the chief ways in which we communicate is through words and through language. So narrative skills is all about being able to relate what you did in a particular sequence. So you have a beginning, a middle, and an end. So
that sounds kind of like a book.
It does, doesn't it? Yes, and also even if you ask a computer coder, he'll tell you that's the way they code their programs in that sequence, in a sequential manner. So when you are interacting, and even if your child is interacting by themselves, it's always nice to have that conversation at the end to ask what they liked or what they did or what they learned, what they enjoyed about what they just experienced.
So you talked about coding, and just for, can you tell us a little bit about what coding is?
So coding is basically what all our computers, all our digital stuff runs on. And it's a series of steps to get from one point to another point. So coding can be taught just on a simple mat, like we did during our Step into Storybooks, where we just had a mat and we had series of arrows which would take a child from one spot to another spot. Or it could be taught on an app like, say, Scratch, which we offer. And these are blocks which you would then put together to form a sequence. So that's all coding is at the very basic level.
Well, and I have to kind of laugh. You say that's all that it is. It's a little
Right.
bit more than that as far as organization of your
Right.
brain. So we have on our iPads an app for a small child, a preschooler, to be
Right.
able to do the
Do that
coding.
coding.
And I was practicing it and or playing with it, and it took me a while to do that. So my brain isn't necessarily programmed for coding. So it's an important skill for our children to learn.
Absolutely.
Because I would assume that well, it is now. It's not the future.
Right.
It is now skills
is.
that we need to have.
Yes, I would agree with that. And even if you are not going to be a computer programmer, it's good to know how these programs are built and how they work. So you have an appreciation for what they can do and how they can be of use to you.
Well, and again, comparing it to reading a book, it is very much that, you have to read chapter 1 to get to chapter 2 and to the middle of the book and to the end of the book. And that's exactly what coding is, only it's a direct line versus
Right.
making little side tracks.
Yeah, and still you're holding on to that sequential thinking where you don't jump steps, but you go in regular and measured steps from one space to
So,
another.
in other words, you don't read the first part of the book and then read the ending because you're curious about how,
Right, how it all
you,
ends.
you need to do all
Do
the
all-
stuff in
uh-huh.
between. So we've talked about the narrative skills, and that's actually what we share and what the teachers share in school and teach in school, that so they can tell a story from the beginning to the end. So they do kind of, although parallel, they do go right along with each other as far as developing those type of skills to use. So let's talk a little bit about vocabulary in all of our media. So our digital things that have well, say our Launchpad is all about science. And now my background is not in science, so this would help me as an adult or as a parent to help my child also learn that language.
Absolutely. So vocabulary is basically word knowledge, and words are the building blocks for language. And the richer your vocabulary is, the more interesting you sound to your audience or to anyone you're talking to. So, and also the interesting thing is coding also uses vocabulary. As you get higher into coding, you will see that language becomes more important. And it's also fun to be able to describe something in exact words. So, use terms that are that sound great and terms that are very accurate to and appropriate to the conversation, rather than trying to describe something in words that may be confusing. So that's what vocabulary at the very
Vocabulary, and we're always learning vocabulary.
Yes.
It's all of our life. That when you were saying that, I was thinking about that. There are two different types of vocabulary too. There's one that you can speak,
Right.
and one that you can understand. And
Right.
and again, I think especially in our digital world, we need to understand those words and comprehend that.
Right.
Not necessarily having to describe it, but to know that it's happening behind the scenes.
Right.
Kind of like the coding that's behind the
Yes.
programs that we
Yes.
see. So do you have, Do you have any apps or things that you like to suggest, or going back to the media mentorship, do you have any suggestions as apps that our parents could use?
Sure.
Or grandparents?
Yes. I'd like to first talk about the apps that we offer here. We offer our ebooks on 2 apps. We offer it on Libby and on Overdrive. These are free apps that you download into any of your smart devices.
There's also Hoopla.
Hoopla and Canopy are 2 streaming apps that we use.
See, there's my vocabulary. They're all the same to me,
Right.
Because they come on my device.
Right, yes, and it all can be downloaded into your smart device, and from where you can start to enjoy your content. Canopy in particular is something that I like to point out, because there is Canopy Kids, and that is content that is specifically targeted towards kids. So has a mix of books, there are videos, and there are other things. And streaming, of course, don't ever have to wait in queue. It's immediate, so you just set yourself up and you can start watching your content. And the wonderful thing about all of our e-resources is you will never pay a fine on them. They automatically return themselves.
Yes, that would be very nice to help us manage our accounts that way.
Right.
I love it when, your book has been returned. Or
Yes.
your audio has been returned. Yes. I don't have to go find it.
Yep, absolutely. And we were also going to talk about technology that's built into the library space.
Yes.
So when you come into our library, we have book displays, but right after our book displays, you'll also see that we offer other ways to interact with media. We have our computers, which have various programs for kids.
And they're self-contained, much like the Launchpad is. Only
true.
They have lots of different apps on there.
Right. Yes, and different ways for kids to interact with technology. As you move in, you will see that we have launch pads that you can check out, and we also have iPads mounted on the walls for your child to play on. And these are again safe because they're all set in guided access, which means your child can't accidentally exit out of the app that's already on that particular device.
And those apps change every month and very specifically thought through as far as being purchased and researched. And so hopefully people all think that we have quality apps on our computers over there, and also the ones that we check out. But not everybody likes this digital world, and not everybody agrees with the digital, handing the child an iPad or even having it in the library or at home. So let's have a discussion about what we say or mentor a family that came in and said, I don't want to have any iPads in my, and I don't like it that you use it in your story time, and I don't want it over there. You're just promoting digital. I want my child to have a book, and only a book.
This technology is here to stay, so we can't run away from it. And any technology is there to help you. And what we need to do really is to find the balance. Right? How much we want to interact with it, how we want to use it. Just like any part of any healthy lifestyle, you don't want to always be exercising. You also want to be doing other things. Right. Just like that, you want to not always be on a device, but use it in a balanced way and always have that interaction. So it's not to serve as a babysitter for a child, but to be one more way in which you can interact or enjoy that technology with your child.
And we have lots of wonderful books. Lisa Guernsey is a person that I like to follow. She's got some TED Talks as well. And she talks about the 3 C's, the content, the child, and the context.
Context,
I knew they were all in my head just a second ago. So the content is what you're looking at. And so we don't want to hand an iPad to a child with an
device,
or even a more child like Minecraft. I wouldn't hand to a 2-year-old.
Right.
And the child, because we know what ages they are and what their interests are and their abilities, and then the context, and that's much like being able to Skype grandma or grandpa or someone that's in another part of the country than where you are, so you can show those things and talk with them face to face, even though they're on the screen and backwards, and so that again, it's an interactive, taking pictures and creating stories is
Right.
another great way to share this new technology that we have. So with that and our different apps, what are the apps trying to? Well, I just read something about Angry Birds, and Angry Birds is an app that
Right.
that was a great
Yeah.
big phase for a while. And
Right.
but even on the piece of information I was listening to, they talked about how much it was into physics, and that there was a lot of conversation you could have with the Angry Birds app.
Right.
Can you kind of speak to like what kind of things that the apps can teach us other than the coding and the vocabulary?
Right. So apps can teach you a variety of things. Everything from, say, fine motor skills. Like, for instance, we have apps where your child could, with a finger, trace things on the screen, and that, of course, translates into better motor skills. And when they go on to holding a pencil and writing and things like that. Apps also, there are apps that teach you how to sequence things, how to separate things. So it all depends upon what you want to teach. And like with anything, you always want to do your research first. And we are here to help you to, suggest and to find things for you. So it's not about just finding what is popular and then just handing it to a child. It's like, it's finding out, like you said, if it's appropriate for your child. Is it age appropriate? Is this what you want your child to be experiencing? And you'll also have to know that when children go to school, they talk about apps and they talk about what's happening. And I know I have a high schooler who is very comfortable calling up his friends, and they all get together virtually and they are playing there, and he's still interacting. There's still socializing going on, but it's a different kind of socializing now. They don't need to be all in the same room, but they are all virtually in the same space. So I think we need to take a step back and see and observe what our children are doing, and see how they are so much more comfortable with this technology, to try and understand that. When you don't understand something, the natural tendency is to be afraid and to shut yourself off. When you understand it a little more, I think you would be a little more welcoming and more accepting of what how the apps can help you.
Right. And so, and again, just like what you said earlier, that, that life balance, that I liked it when you said you don't want to exercise all the time, which you don't want to eat green beans all the time either.
Exactly.
You want to have all of these other things too. So, I mean, it is all about balance and making that happen. So setting your family up for a plan, setting up your family on a plan, a technology
Right.
plan, which includes adults as much as it does children. So set up yourself a technology plan, deciding when you want to have those devices on, when you want to share them, when you want to have a face-to-face conversation. And if you have any questions about any of those things, feel free to come into the library and talk with any of us here. And we would love to talk to you about some of the research that we know about, and how, like you said, Rosie, it's here to stay. We just need to know how to embrace it and how to put it into our lives in a balanced way. So it is reading. It is part of our life in our world. And so pick up an iPad and take a look and see what it is. Or if you are continually on that iPad or iPhone, put it down for a while and see what life can bring you, and be aware of your surroundings. So until next time, happy reading and happy device using.